Well, it's happening. The US economy is coming very close to getting absolutely destroyed because of the potential strike of 45,000 union workers at key seaports on the US East Coast and Gulf Coasts. And essentially, this strike is scheduled to begin on October 1st and could bring vital trade arteries to a standstill, affecting everything from food imports to vehicle shipments, and might have ramifications just weeks before the nation's presidential election. So in this video, I'm going to be breaking down what this strike means, how it could affect the US economy, and why it could cost an estimated $5 billion per day if this strike goes down. Okay, so here's the basics of what's happening. The International Longshoremen Association, or the ILA, is a union representing 45,000 dock workers. They are facing a contract expiration on September 30th. And they are in negotiations with the United States Maritime Alliance, or again, the USMX, which represents port employees from Maine to Texas. So the primary sticking point is pay, and if these negotiations fail, we could see a massive strike. And this would be the first strike by the ILA, or again, the International Longshoremen Association, since 1977. And again, it's happening at a critical time for the US economy and global trade. Now, the ports in question handle around half of all U.S. imports. That includes a wide range of goods, from bananas and clothing to cars and machinery. And these ports serve as vital gateways for trade, and a strike would create weeks-long backlogs, slow down shipments, and likely cause shortages and price hikes. And as you'll see, the potential consequences are far-reaching and touch multiple industries. So let's talk about this $5 billion per day estimate the strike could cost everyone. Analysts from JPMorgan have projected that a full-blown strike could cost the US economy $5 billion each day. Alright, why so much? It's because these ports handle an enormous volume of goods essential for daily life and business operations across the US. Everything from food, clothing, and electronics to cars and raw materials comes through these ports day in and day out. And when you stop that flow of goods, the ripple effect impacts nearly every sector of the economy. Logistics experts warn that backlogs created by even a short strike could take weeks, if not months, to clear. So higher shipping costs would likely be passed on to consumers, me and you, driving up prices for already expensive goods. And this is especially concerning for Americans who are already grappling with inflation in areas like housing, groceries, and fuel. So I think all of us. Now, the ports that could be affected by the strike are major hubs for US trade, handling billions of dollars worth of goods every month. And I really want to harp on this because I don't think Americans realize this could literally cripple our economy, and it's only taking 45,000 dock workers to do it. For example, in the 12 months leading up to June 30th, 2024, all of these seaports processed $37 billion worth of vehicle imports alone, according to S&P Global Market Intelligence. Auto parts, too, are a key import on the East Coast, especially those from Europe, which are harder to reroute than goods from China and other parts of Asia. You know, we're talking your BMWs, Mercedes, Mini Coopers, Jaguars, Ferraris, Lamborghinis, every single European import ever or auto part, is coming in through the East Coast. And beyond cars, these ports are responsible for importing large quantities of machinery, fabricated steel, and precision instruments valued at over $97 billion combined. All of this could be delayed, impacting manufacturing, construction, and other industries that rely on these imports to keep their operations running smoothly. And it's not just imports. About 14% of all U.S. agriculture exports are handled by these ports as well, representing around $318 million in goods per week. This includes products like soybeans, chilled or frozen meats, and eggs. A strike would severely disrupt these exports, which rely on specialized containers like refrigerated units that cannot sit idle for long periods of time. And since we're talking about food, one of the most immediate concerns is the impact on food supply chains. A significant portion of the nation's food imports, including bananas, coffee, and cocoa, comes through these ports as well. And large volumes of coffee and cocoa, essential for businesses ranging from grocery stores to restaurants, would be delayed. So could you imagine all the angry Karens out there who are not getting their coffee, to include myself? Oh, and by the way, meat exports would also take a hit. Around $18 billion worth of beef and pork export markets, and the $5.8 billion poultry and egg export sectors. These products require refrigerated containers, which can't sit for extended periods of time. Even a short delay could lead to spoilage and massive financial losses for exporters. So according to the U.S. Meat Export Federation, about 45% of all U.S. pork exports and 35% of beef exports are shipped via East and Gulf Coast ports. And disruptions here could lead to significant backlogs once again, affecting not just U.S. consumers, but also global markets that rely on U.S. agricultural products. So again, the implications here is not just we're affecting the United States. A lot of our partners are going to be extremely annoyed if they figure out that these port workers want more money and they're not getting it. And now our allies are like, hey, where's our bacon? Where's our eggs? Where's our soybeans? The implications here are massive. Oh, and by the way, pharmaceuticals and medical supplies to me is probably the biggest scare of all of this. It's not just food and cars that are at risk. These ports handle more than 91% of containerized imports and 69% of containerized exports of U.S. pharmaceutical products. If the strike goes ahead, it could disrupt the supply of life-saving medications, which are often transported through major ports like Norfolk, Virginia, and Charleston, South Carolina. And look, any slowdown here would have serious implications for hospitals, pharmacies, and patients across the U.S. About 1/3 of all containerized pharmaceutical imports enter the country through these two ports, and disruptions could lead to shortages in critical drugs. And look, it's political season, so let's talk about the political implications. The timing of this strike is absolutely crucial. It's set to happen just weeks before the U.S. presidential election, which could make it a major political issue. The Biden administration has not yet stepped in to broker a deal, a stark contrast to last year when the White House intervened in the West Coast port negotiations. This hands-off approach could backfire if the strike leads to visible economic damage, particularly as voters are already concerned about inflation and cost of living. And look, retailers who account for roughly half of all container volumes are particularly concerned. And look, many have already rushed to import holiday goods in anticipation of a strike. But delays and shortages could still disrupt the crucial holiday shopping season. A strike that impacts consumer goods so close to the election could create political firestorms, especially if prices for everyday items like clothing, toys, and electronics spike due to supply chain issues. Now look, people, if the strike goes ahead, experts say the recovery process will be slow. For every day the ports are shut down, it could take 4 to 6 days to clear the resulting backlogs, according to analysts at Sea Intelligence, a shipping advisory firm. There are even warnings out there that a 1-week shutdown could take up to 6 weeks to recover from, creating lasting delays and driving up shipping costs. There are companies out there looking for alternative solutions, such as rerouting shipments through the West Coast ports or moving goods by air. However, these alternatives are often more expensive and less efficient, particularly for heavy or bulky items like cars or industrial machinery. And again, if the shipping costs go up, who do you think's going to pay for it? Me and you, the consumer. So look, I'm going to end this video with this. The potential strike by 45,000 union workers at U.S. East Coast and Gulf Coast ports could have a monumental impact on the economy, international trade, and even politics. From shortages of everyday goods to delayed agricultural exports and pharmaceutical disruptions, the effects of a prolonged strike would be felt across the board. And with the deadline approaching fast, the clock is ticking for the ILA and USMX to reach a deal.